Sup guys, Licious Kid from ClimaxCombo here, back with another deck profile. This time I'll be featuring my friend's Project Sekai deck. This deck is blue, green, and features a lot of characters from Night Court and from Leonid. Admittedly, this is not the best build, but it's pretty fun. And not a complete expert on this set because, like I said, it's my friend's deck, but I still think it's a pretty cool build. So yeah, in this video, we're just gonna do things a little differently. We're just gonna go over all the cards like usual, and then we're just gonna go over a couple key points of the deck, and lastly, maybe a few alternatives and some closing thoughts. So first up, we got 3 of these 0/0 Kanades, really good card, 2 effects. When it's sent from stage to waiting room, you can check the top card of your deck and leave it there or put it to bot deck. Second effect, when it's sent from stage to waiting room, you can discard a card. If you do, look at top 4 cards of your deck, choose a level 1 or higher card, add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. So both effects pop off when it's sent from stage to waiting room, and both effects are very strong. Use the second effect first, and then the first effect, so you know what you're going to draw into, or something like that, or use the first effect to help you guarantee the second effect. So really strong synergy, really strong card. Probably one of my favorite cards in all of Project Sekai, honestly. Next up, we got 3. Oh yeah, she's also Night Court, which is important. I'll mention the Night Court characters specifically because that's important. All of them are music, so they all generally synergize with each other, but this build has a bit more Night Court synergy, which we'll go over in a bit. So this card 0/0, 2k, Shizuku, 2 effects. If your opponent has 3 or less cards on their field, she gets plus 1k. Her second effect is Clean Cut. So really strong card, 0/0, 3k, Clean Cut most of the time at level 0. So good card. And it adds to our green count, which is very important, because there's not much good green zeros. Next up, we got 0/0, 1k Kanade. She's also from Night Court. 2 effects. First effect, once played from hand to stage, you choose one of your characters, and that card gains a falling effect until the end of your opponent's turn, where it cannot be reversed by card effects. Very situational. Second effect, it's a pay 1, rest yourself, brainstorm, middle top 4, every climax you hit, search. Mainly here for the search brainstorm, and she's Night Court, which is very important. The first effect is honestly only good against Adachis that reverse the character, so pretty situational, but better than not having any second effect, right? Next up, we got 3 of these Akitos, the man himself, 0/0, 1500 power. If you control another music character, he gets plus 15, so he's 3k. And at his second effect, at the start of your opponent's attack phase, if there's a character in front of him, you can move him to an empty slot where there is no character in front of him. So he kind of runs away, which is kind of a shame because he is 3k base. But nonetheless, it's a pretty decent 0, so we run 3 of these. Next up, pretty much the reason why I want to mention which characters are Night Court, this 0/0, 1500 Mizuki. First effect, he's 1500 global to all your characters. Second effect, when your characters trigger a Pants Climax and you control 2 or more Night Court characters, you can discard a card. If you do, salvage a Night Court character from your waiting room to your hand. Then you choose one of your characters and give a plus 1 level and plus 500 power. So 500 global, and that second effect is not that consistent in this build because we're only running 4 paths. And you can only grab Night Court characters, and we don't run that much Night Court, or we don't run all Night Court characters, but most of the key cards in this build are Night Court, so you can grab most of the stuff in this deck that you want anyways. There's also 500 global, decent hand fix, and it gives a little extra juice, so just 2 of these. Next up, 0/0 Rui from the TD. 2 effects. At the beginning of your climax phase, you can choose one of your characters and give it plus 1k. His second effect is what we're mainly running him for. When it's played from hand to stage, you choose, you put 2 of your characters from stand to rest. Then you choose one of your characters and give it the following effect for the turn, where when that character reverses an opponent's character by battle, you gain a blind stock. So, just use them when you can to get an extra blind stock, because it's pretty nice getting extra blind stock. Next up, one of these 0/0 IDs, 2/5 power. Once played from hand to stage, you can pay 1, discard a climax. If you do, salvage a climax, so just a climax swapper. Just run 1. Next up, 3 of these 0/0 nenes, 2k power. Once played from hand to stage, you can pay 1. Choose a character in your waiting room, put it to your bottom clock. If you do, search your deck for a 1 or lower character and add it to your hand. So pretty standard searcher, but really good. So 3 of those. And that's it for the zeros. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Lots of zeros. Next up, we run one of these, 1035 power, 3 effects. This card can be played without meeting the color requirement. Second effect, when it's played from hand to stage, you can discard a climax if you do salvage character. Her third effect, when this card is battling and the damage this card receives is cancelled, you can add this card back to your hand. So mainly here just for the discard a climax to salvage, because that third effect of having you having to cancel her battle to bounce back is very doesn't happen often enough to be consistent. But when it does feel really nice. So just one of these for consistency's sake. Next up, we got 4 of these Mizukis, combos with this set pants here. Pretty good card. First effect, once played from hand to stage, if you control another music character, he gets plus 2k. Second effect, climax combos with pants. On attack, gets plus 1k. And the following effect till the end of your opponent's next turn, where when this card is friend attacked, it bounces back to hand. So on play, being 6/5 is good, but also with the pants, 7/5 from the pants, 8/5 from his own effect is actually really strong. And the fact that it can bounce back to your hand when it's friend attack, overall makes this card pretty solid. It's also a Night Court character, so it has that going on for him too. So yeah, these are your main 1/0 attackers, so run 4 of these. Next up, this 1/1 backup 1500 power. It's a 1500 power backup, but it's mainly here for a second effect. It's an Adachi, so when it gets reversed by battle, if your opponent's character is higher than their own level, your opponent heals 1, and then that character goes to clock. So that's it, just mainly here for that. And lastly, we have 4 of these events. From the TD, when you play this event, you mill top 2, and then you salvage a character equal to or lower than the levels of the 2 cards you milled. So just a little extra milling and having the ability to salvage is quite nice. So we run 4 of these. And that's it for ones, just not too much, just 10 ones. Technically only 5, since only 5 of them are attacking. For level 2s, not too much. Just one of these 2/1 Kohanes. No, Honami. 2/1 Honami. It's a 3k backup. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 2/5 backup. However, when you use this backup, you can pay the additional cost of an additional 2 and sacrificing one of your own characters. If you do, choose one character that's higher than their opponent's level and send it to waiting room. So it's okay, just mainly here as a defensive backup. Next up, more defensive backups. Ooh, excuse me, get that up there. 2/3 backup, pretty standard card. You can only play this event if you control 5 or more characters. And when you use this event, you choose one of your opponent's character, gain the following effect until the end of the turn, where it cannot deal damage to you. And lastly, you give one of your characters plus 1500 power. It's just a standard pay 3 defensive backup with a full field. Just 2 of these, because it does come in clutch. That's it for 2s, because we got a bunch of 3s that come out early and that are quite powerful. So we have, first of all, 3 of these 3/2 Sakis, 8/5 power. 3 effects. If you have 2 or less climax, she loses 1 level in hand. Second effect, you can play her without meeting the color ruling, which is really good. Another effect, for each of your own back row characters, she gets plus 1k power, so she's 10-5 base essentially. Last effect, once played from hand to stage, you can discard a card. If you do, put the top card of your clock to stock, so stock heal. I mean, overall, really solid card. 10-5 base, stock heal comes early, and dodges color ruling, which is what makes this card really nice. So just 3 of these. And this is the only healer in this build, so keep that in mind. Next up, 2 of these Mizukis, also really good card. 8k power, also Night Cord. If you have 4 or more music characters, this card loses 1 level in your hand, so it can come out early. Second effect, if you control 2 or more music character, it gains plus 2500 power and hand encore, so it's 10-5 base with hand encore. Last effect, once played from hand to stage, you can look at to top X of your deck, choose 1 card, add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room, and X is the number of characters you control. So most of the time, it's an on-play, check top 5, add anything, which is really, really nice. So early drop, big body, hand encore, and pluses you on play. Honestly, super good card. Next up, we got 2 of these 3/2 Ichikas from the TD. I think this card is super cool. Once played from hand to stage, you can play a card from your hand onto an empty slot on your stage, and then choose when your character gets plus 2k power. So you can essentially play a card from your hand to the stage and get all of its on-play effects for no stock, which is super cool. And you give something 2k power, which is actually quite important in this deck, and synergizes well with her. Because her second effect is when this card reverses an opponent's character by battle, you can pay 3, ditch 2. If you do, you deal 2 damage to your opponent, check top, leave it there, or put it to bot deck. So really good, mainly here for the first effect to get something free on play, but that second effect does come in handy at times. So really good card. And lastly, we got the main finisher, 3/2 Shiho, 10k power. Once played from hand to stage, this card gains plus 4500 power, and the following effect of both players cannot back up in this card's battle. Second effect, combos with the gold bar. When this card reverses an opponent's character by battle, you can pay 2 to discard a card. If you do, mill your opponent's bottom 5 cards, and you can choose up to 2 climaxes amongst them and put it to their clock. So pretty sick finish if it works out. If you don't hit anything, you're sad. But the highs on this card is pretty scary. It is pretty heavy cost though, paying 2 and ditching 1. And that's it for the level 3s. 10 level 3s. Lastly, 4 pants, 4 gold bar. So for this video, guys, we're just going to go over a couple key points of this deck that I want to mention. The goal of this deck is to be extremely aggressive. You're running 4 pants, 4 gold bar. The goal is kind of to play a climax every turn. That way you can push for a lot of damage, because this deck only has 3 heals, and they're not even like normal healers. So in the long run, you're not going to outlast your opponent. So just try to be as aggressive as possible. You know, if you can, get 3 attacks per turn. That way you have a higher chance of triggering pants and gates. The level 0s, I mean, are pretty solid, right? You got some 3Ks, clean cuts. This card is just super strong all game. This is going to be your back row for the entire game. And with these 2, you fulfill her condition of having 2 Night Core characters on the stage at all times. So really good. So just try to get your back row like this, and just start trying to push for damage as soon as you can. The 1-0 combo does, you know, like I say, push for more damage, and he goes back to your hand if he gets friend attacked. And if they don't answer him, if you trigger another pants and you play it, I mean, it just kind of keeps looping itself, you know? So just, like I said, spam as much climaxes as you can. Even if you have to use the gold bar early, better to push for damage than to not push for damage. Because like I said, we are not going to outlast our opponents in this build. So just try to push damage. Level 2, the deck does actually get really good. I mean, both of these cards are just really strong early drops, especially the Mizuki. I mean, 10-5 pluses you in hand size and big body. Just really good card. So this is probably the main target to play at level 2. And you can even grab climaxes to like I said, push for more damage. And lastly, for level 3, this is going to be your typical field. The goal, I think, ideally, you at least want to have 5 stock. That way you can play one of these Shihos, play an Ichika, then you play the third Shiho for free. Attack with her first, get 2 stock. Attack with her with the gold bar, of course. Sorry. Then you'll be at 3 stock, pay 2, ditch 1. You mill your opponent's bottom 5. And then this one last one attacks. You get the second stock again, pay 2, ditch 1, mill bottom 5. So this milling bottom 10, you're probably going to hit 2 climaxes with this Shiho. And if you hit 2 and 2, that's 4 guaranteed damage, you know? So that's the ideal game end for this deck. At least 5 stock and double Shiho them with an Ichika. Of course, if you have any more, then you can use whatever you have left on the Ichika herself, because she also game ends by paying 3 and discarding a card. So that's kind of the idea behind this deck. Push for damage and double Shiho and Ichika them for the win. And I'm sure you noticed, but a lot of the strong cards that I mentioned that are kind of integral to this game plan are Night Court characters. So that's why we run this with only 4 pants, because it's a 500 global, and you can grab most of the cards that you want to grab anyways in this build. So that's kind of the idea behind this deck. So just like a few alternatives I think that can work in this build. First up is the 2/1 Saki, 6/5 power, 2 effects. When she attacks, if the opponent is a level 3 or higher, she gets plus 6k. Second effect, she combos with a choice or the same gold bar that the Shiho combos with. At the start of your encore phase, you can pay 1, send her from stage to waiting room. If you do, choose a character in your waiting room, add it to your hand, and then choose a card from your hand and place it to where she was. And yeah, pretty much play where she was. So it's a pretty neat climax combo. The best part is that it does combo with the same gold bar that Shiho uses. So this is a potential 1 to 2 you can consider running. And the other possible addition you can add to this deck is the 3/2 Night Court Miku that combos with the pants. I don't think you necessarily want to run her for the pants combo, but she does have a good on play. When she's played from hand to stage, you can rest one of your other characters. If you do, choose one of your opponent's card in the waiting room and leave it there, and then they shuffle the rest of their cards back into their deck. So it's a pretty good possible tech you can run. And yeah, it's just like anti-compress them. Something you can consider, but the more compressed they are, right, the scarier the Shiho kind of becomes. So, just something to consider, but I don't think it's that necessary. Alright guys, so here's one last look at the deck. Overall, like I said, this is definitely not the strongest Project Sekai build out there, but I think it's cool and a lot of fun, and it runs my 2 favorite groups, Leonid and Night Court. It's a pretty fun build. Like I said, very aggressive, push damage, and good level 2s, and pretty potentially strong game ending. I guess the biggest cons of this deck is that if you don't trigger the climaxes, you kind of run out of juice pretty fast, and the game ending can whiff, and you just kind of help out your opponent, which feels really bad. And the deck is pretty low power overall. But the highs of this deck, push damage pretty fast, and potentially game end them pretty fast too. So that's it for this build, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you guys soon. Peace.